Let's open up to page 424, please. Lesson 3, analyze author's purpose and point of view. Let's look at the learning objectives, which are our key ideals. Social studies material may be written to inform or to persuade. Thoughtful readers need to take an author's purpose and point of view into account. And some authors may express a bias or point of view by the selection of supporting details or use of loaded words. So let's begin at the top of page 424. Let's look at the first paragraph. Analyze author's purpose and point of view. Okay, please follow along with me in your book. Any author of social studies material has a viewpoint and a purpose. Social studies material can have many purposes, such as to inform or educate, for example, a textbook or magazine article. Other materials, such as newspaper editorials and online blogs, are used to convince people of a point of view. Next paragraph. An author's point of view is his or her way of looking at the world. Some social scientists follow a method of examining the facts and coming to a conclusion. In other cases, an author may start with a point of view and assemble facts or evidence to support it. When you read social studies material, determine whether an author has a bias, a tendency to see one point of view. A bias is not a bad thing in and of itself. After all, we all have biases. But you should take the author's bias into account. An extreme form of bias is propaganda, in which an author tries to convince people to act and think as the author wants. Authors of propaganda selectively include certain facts and ignore others, or they use loaded words to trigger emotional responses. Use the following example to practice finding the author's point of view. Okay, let's pull the slide up a little bit and let's look at some additional information about the author's point of view. Okay, so now that you understand what the point of view is, let's look back at our textbook and let's try the first sample question they gave us here. So the next paragraph, it reads, until the 1980s, most anthropologists mistakenly estimated the native population in North America at the time of Columbus' expedition in 1492 to be somewhere between 2 million and 7 million people. They based these estimates on the number of Native Americans alive at the time of their first contact with the European explorers and settlers. However, the estimates ignored the impact of infectious diseases such as smallpox, which traveled much faster than humans did and would have decimated the native population before Europeans made contact with native people. What is the author's point of view about the population of North America? Okay, and of course, choice 2 is correct, that it was probably much larger than 7 million people. The author points out a reason to think that anthropologists prior to the 1980s undercounted the native population. Answer 1 gives the estimate of most anthropologists prior to the 1980s. Let's look at the next question. Which of the following words is a clue to the author's viewpoint? 1 or 2? And at the bottom of page 424, the correct choice is 1. The author believes that the anthropologist's estimates were flawed because they ignored relevant information about the impact of diseases on the native population. Choice 2 misses the author's point. He doesn't fault them for estimating, but rather for ignoring evidence when they made their estimates. Let's look at the slides and let's pull up the slide. Here's some additional information about the confirmation bias. And what is propaganda? Let's pull the slide up. More examples of propaganda. And let's scroll the slide up. More examples of propaganda. So all of these posters are all examples of propaganda. We have several that we're going to pull up for you. So let's do it. And this one here, I'll have to reduce the screen so you can see the entire poster. And Captain America, Captain salutes you, examples of propaganda. Okay, that will bring us to the end of lesson 3 on page 424, analyze author's purpose and point of view. We'll stop here.